as the United Nations Secretary General said, the West Asia is at a brink. Iran's attack on Israel over the weekend has left the whole region as well as the world talking about what next in West Asia. We are being joined in by the Ambassador of State of Israel to India, Naor Gilon. Thank you, sir, for joining us on Times Now. If I may ask, what's the situation in Israel 24 hours since the attack happened?
So the situation is good thanks to our abilities to block it together with the US and other friends in the region. But luckily, there were, of course, around 350 rockets and cruise missiles and UAVs coming towards Israel, carrying about 60 tons of explosives together. We were able to intercept 99% of these, and the few that penetrated through created really very little damage. Unfortunately, one young 70-year-old girl, Muslim girl, Bedouin from the south, was severely injured. We pray for her well-being. But other than that, the situation is the same. Look, we are already in... Iran is fighting Israel by proxy for years. It's an ongoing war. But it was escalated on October 7, where one of its main proxies, Hamas, infiltrated Israel and massacred 1,200 people, civilians and soldiers and foreigners and Israelis, and did atrocities. And then other proxies. When I speak of proxies, these are organizations that are financed, trained, and equipped by Iran. Hezbollah in the northern border, and then Shiite militias in Syria and Iraq, and the Houthis in Yemen, who are not only shooting at Israel but also at international shipping, disrupting it. All of them started fighting with Israel in parallel. And what happened now with Iran, it's already the next level, that for the first time ever, Iran engaged Israel directly from its own territory. So this is a new phase. In general, everything is coming on Israel. We are trying to react. We are not doing anything but trying to bring back security to our people.
So while the US, the UK, Saudis, as well as Jordanian Air Force did help you tackle the incoming attack, but just after that, there was a call between President Biden and Prime Minister Netanyahu. The report says that White House is not very keen for Israel to retaliate. Other countries are also pressurizing Israel not to escalate the situation from here. How do you see the international pressure coming in?
So, first of all, we are thankful to all our friends, starting with the Americans, the Brits and others, the French. But, we respect what they ask from us and what they tell us and what they do for us. At the end of the day, it's our responsibility to maintain the security and safety of our people. And I think that Iran overcrossed the line this time in a big time. And we have to send a message that this is totally unacceptable. We will do that while consulting with our friends, but the responsibility and the last decision has to be of Israel, because we are speaking of the well-being of our population and our guests in Israel. So I think this is very important, that we do whatever we need at the time, and we can decide on the timing, on the place, on how to do it, where to do it. But this is, the retaliation can come later on. It doesn't have to be tomorrow. It might be tomorrow. We'll wait and see.
Ambassador, if I may ask, when it's Gaza, there have been already huge international pressure. The negotiations are still going on in Cairo, in Doha. Even United Nations is intervening. Now this is another new front that has been opened for Israel. So after this attack, will your operations in Gaza see some change, whether there will be on-ground changes? Because your Prime Minister just said last week that Rafah is inevitable. We will not leave Hamas even in Rafah. So will there be changes in the operations in Gaza as well?
We are continuing in Gaza. Things are not connected. We know how to work in multi-fronts. You have the hostage here, hostage pictures behind you. We have more than 130 people in Gaza, and they are dying every day and being tortured and abused, and we have to bring them back. And this is going to continue. We said from day one, that we will make sure that Hamas is unable to attack Israel again and will not control the Gaza Strip again. and to bring back the hostages. We are still there. We tried now with a deal to bring them back, but unfortunately Hamas again rejected the deal, offered not by Israel but by the international elements that are trying to negotiate there. So we will continue doing what we need in order to make sure that our aims are achieved. At the end of the day, I think that Benny Gantz, member of the cabinet, said that you can't extinguish 80% of a fire. A fire has to be, if you don't want it to repeat, it has to be totally extinguished. And that's our aim with dealing in Hamas. This is an ISIS-like organization that cannot survive, cannot lead the Gaza Strip anymore, and we have to make sure it doesn't continue.
My last question, Ambassador, there's an India connection to this whole crisis as well. While 2 batches of Indian workers have already gone to Israel and the G2G, the questions over their security is being raised. Then 17 Indian nationals are in Iran custody. The IRGC confiscated a ship belonging to an Israeli businessman. 17 of Indian nationals were on them. India is trying to get consular access. Iran says that they will give one. How do you see this whole development, and how can you assure that the Indians who have gone there will be safe, given that we lost one Indian national earlier this year?
So these are 2 different topics that manifestate the behavior of Iran and its proxies. So when it comes to the security of Indian workers in Israel, from our point of view, Indian workers are no different than Israelis in any measure. Even, by the way, if someone is wounded or hurt, he will be compensated like an Israeli. There is no difference between an Israeli, an Indian, Filipino, or any other worker, or someone, a tourist even in Israel. So from our point of view, we try to protect our citizens and all our guests. It's one package of protection. We don't do it differently. You cannot differentiate. So, I think that people are safe. You saw our performance now with the attack of Iran and 99% of interception. When it comes to the ship, the ownership of Israeli is very vague there, by the way. It's not a direct ownership, but it doesn't really matter because this is international piracy in high waters by a country, which is totally unacceptable. The fact that they hijacked 25 sailors on the ship that did nothing but trying to provide for their families, 17 Indians, but the rest are other nationalities, is totally unacceptable. I think the international community has to unite and putting pressure on Iran. Think of it that if you add to all this behavior of Iran also nuclear weapon, it will give them the ability, first of all, to threat other countries, and they promise to eliminate Israel off the map. Their leaders multiple times. So if you add to this nuclear weapon capacity, to all that, it will give them more courage, well, feeling of being protected, to behave in piracy and shooting other countries and destabilizing the Middle East and everything. And can also shoot or launch these weapons at other countries, especially Israel is a prime target. So I think that we have to unite all of us to put pressure on Iran to make sure that this country stops its behavior and becomes a normal country as it was, by the way, before the revolution, the Islamic revolution came to the country and changed it. And you see that also the population now are suffering in a way that is very unfortunate.
Thank you, Ambassador. So this was Israel Ambassador to India telling us what the plan of Israel would be and how he perceived the situation evolving in West Asia. With camera person Dalip Awasthi, Rishabh Pratap for Times Now in New Delhi.